name is Sky Ainsworth, and listening to these recent Terry Gross Fresh Air interviews with individuals and the coverage of, you know, growing up as a overweight black gay man in Texas, and these other ideas, you know, down at the lesbian from Tasmania, and Mr. Rogers, how he's, you know, born into wealth, becomes an ordained pastor, and then decided to create a show. So here's my little addition to that. I'm a white man born and raised on the Mexican border, to the point where I was sometimes the only white student in class growing up, or the only white person in the class. I mean, it was difficult for me to understand or grasp growing up, because I would look at school pictures and notice, like, I'm very pale, very white compared to the other students. I could not see myself outside of the context of the the person who was next to me. I could watch television and understand, like, okay, it's, you know, white people, black people, and all the other races, and I understood, you know, where I fit into the world, you know, context based off of television. I did not understand sociologically what impact that would have on me. It wasn't until I went to college and took a Black Studies 1 introduction course, and reading W.E.B. DuBois describe how in 1920s New England neighborhood, a photographer came by, said, "Hey, I'll take a picture of all the kids in the neighborhood," and when he looked at the photograph, he could not identify himself at first, and that is because he realized he was the only black kid in the all-white neighborhood. Reading that, I related to that. I understood what he was talking about. I could identify with that statement, because I could expand on that with walking across high school campus. I didn't feel out of place. Walking across my UC Santa Barbara campus, which had a lot of Caucasians, blonde hair people, made me realize, like, oh, because everyone back in high school had black hair. It's, you know, these weird, interesting sort of like dynamics, or like just atmosphere scenarios of, you know, where am I? You know, who am I? What do I identify with? And it's like details and things like, you know, just how you act and behave, which I think is more of a small farming community background and experience, not necessarily a Hispanic or, you know, Latino or Mexican heritage type thing. It's like there's certain behaviors I would exhibit in my youth that it was just, you know, it's just how you behaved when you're younger, and with sort of, you know, machismo and bravado, and which is no different from white people in the South, southern states, southeastern United States, or any place where it's, you know, the country, the farmland, more rural, more agricultural jobs, dealing with animals. That is the background and the lifestyle that I came from. Like, we took sex ed in junior high, or did we? Because I remember, I guess, like, we kind of briefly covered, we briefly covered reproduction in junior high, and it wasn't until freshman orientation, high school, that they were given a course on female sexuality, human sexuality, human reproduction, and really it was just human reproduction. It wasn't about sexuality. You know, there was, because this is 92, so almost no discussion or topics of homosexuality that I can recall. I don't think we even discussed the female orgasm. we just understood the mechanics of things. And it's just, it wasn't until college that, like, all this literature and concepts and ideas, and listening to Loveline, in fact, that I, like, this is really opening my eyes and my understanding of everything, what's going on with people. It's like one of the other observations that I keep coming up with is growing up, I knew, or like going to high school, I knew I would be going to college when I graduated, but I did not know why. I didn't understand like the full context or reasoning for me going to college, other than that's just the next step after college. You get your job, your life is put together and established. And I didn't understand exactly, or I didn't understand the concept fully of what am I supposed to do with my life? How does college become the step to the next thing? And I think that's potentially because I was born and raised like in an atheist household. My family was respectful of religions, and we went to church services with family and friends. We go back to Iowa and go to the Catholic and the I'm trying to remember what the Scandinavian Lutheran church services. But we just didn't. It's like just okay. This is the thing we did. It's just the practice. So, like a girlfriend of mine talked about how because she was a mixed race, half Hispanic or half Mexican, and that she was sort of viewed and almost treated as an alien by people. She could speak the language, she looked similar to everybody else, but because she was not part of the same church, the Catholic Church where we were growing up, that she's considered this outsider, not necessarily part of whoever or whatever. It's so these interesting ideas of identity and what happens. Like watching the Cosby Show growing up, it's like that was just entertainment. It's just it was this neat little sitcom of a family, and just not really thinking beyond that. Just like, okay, it's Bill Cosby and his show. When Roseanne came on, like, yeah, watch Roseanne. And it's not necessarily that I could identify with Roseanne or identify with the Cosby Show. It's it's just what was on television. So I just took it that this is American television. Racism and even prejudice was not part of my lexicon. It was not part of my worldview or world understanding. Like as far as I could tell, there was no. Racism was the thing you read about in the books or saw on television. The very graphic depictions and examples of people treating others poorly. Where we lived and grew up, we don't treat each other poorly because it's a small town, small farming community. Like everybody knows each other. You know each other's families. If you cause, raised by a village, if you cause problems, somebody knew who you were. They knew your family. They would tell on you. So that sort of insular, you are protected by the community, and if you're an outsider, that's a problem. That can be a challenge for you. So my parents were the school teachers there, which they're coming from Los Angeles, this cosmopolitan, very multi-ethnic, multi-cultural environment. My mother was from the Russian community in Boyle Heights, that also kind of got lumped in with the Japanese American community. Her classmates were of Japanese descent. They were born in the internment camps. It's like, what is, so like I didn't fully understand my own sort of racist prejudice behavior until I went to college, and I sort of realized, oh, my catch-all term of Mexican, no, don't say that anymore. Replace that with Latino, Hispanic, and it's it's not necessarily derogatory towards Mexican, although it's because I would go to other states like Georgia later on, and who do they make fun of? The people from South Carolina, because that's nearby, and there is this sort of cultural whatever divide. It's just people choose to have this like label for the other. So I mean that's just the things I'm fascinated, or I was understanding about it all. Yeah. So if I think of more, I'll record them. But yeah, I guess I should write a blog, white guy on the border or something. But yeah, let me know what you guys think.